here today with my special brother off of my old block 154th Street, Dr. Carl Smith slash drummer. How you want to call it? Hey Carl, how you been, man?
Man, I've been doing well, brother. How about yourself?
I'm good, man. It's good to see you.
Yeah,
Uh
good
so
seeing you.
hey, like I start out with everybody else, I knew you as a drummer, but was that your original instrument?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
it was. Yeah, yeah, man. It's funny because when I think back to what we used to talk about all the time,
Mm-hmm.
back in the day, man, everybody had an instrument.
Right, right.
But when I don't know if you remember Dwight used to live on 132nd Avenue, 137th Avenue,
The
right?
white.
He lived right between us.
Cross the street from Rob
Well,
Robinson.
right.
Mm-hmm.
He used to have Richard Current, Rob Robinson, and a few other musicians jam on his back porch.
Right, for his barbecue. Yeah,
Right.
I remember one of them.
That's right. When I saw Richard Currents play, that's when I wanted to become a drummer.
Wow.
And we were kids then, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were kids then. Yeah.
I remember that time because
Yeah.
Howie Great also came to that. I didn't know who he was at the
Right.
time, but later on I found out that's who he was.
Right.
So to go back even further, it was like I didn't even know you played drums.
Mm-hmm.
That's what was so crazy. So because
Right.
you lived at the other end of the block, we were more in sports, and I
Right.
didn't even know that you played drums. So
Right.
that what was so crazy about that, because I don't think um it might have been high school, early high school, because you didn't play at 72 at all, did you? In band.
Not really. Not that much.
Okay.
Because cats like Eddie Lemons was playing drums back then.
Right. I remember Eddie.
Eddie was playing. Yeah. So
Uh,
I think I was taking lessons,
oh, okay.
but for the most part, I was playing at drums. I wasn't playing that well. You
Wow.
know.
Because
Yeah.
I was thinking to myself today, I said, when did I find out Carl was a drummer? It, I think it had to be you came down one time when I finally had got my drum set.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we started hooking up. Because again, like I said, I didn't know you played.
Right.
And yeah, because that's when it was. Because then I started coming down to your house, and that's when I saw your brother had a Hammond in the house.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, and so and going from that, like who else plays in the family? Because I know you had a sister that sang. I saw her and Nick was practicing actually, rehearsing what she
Right.
was going to do that Sunday. So
Right.
like, did anybody else have that? Like, did your parents? Where's it coming from?
Well, where it came from, man, honestly, when I started playing drums was in First Baptist Church of Crown Heights, and all I could do was a 4/4 time, right? So I did the 4/4 time either fast or slow, and because it was a novelty,
Right.
I was the greatest thing since sliced bread and butter. And nobody really saw anything other than this novelty of a Smith kid playing the drums. That's where it
Wow.
came from, man. And because I used to follow Nikki,
Mm-hmm.
you know, uh, we used to play every Sunday after church.
Mm.
We used to go to different churches. Sometimes I
Right.
played, but I started playing out in the churches,
Right.
and mommy and daddy, just like all of our parents, insisted that we play an instrument.
Right.
So that's when I started, you
So
know.
like, who else
But it,
played? Like Tom and John?
uh,
Was it?
well, John, we all took lessons.
Mm-hmm.
John played piano.
Oh, okay.
When Nick played organ and piano.
Right.
He sang with the Howard Gospel Choir,
Right.
um, Howard University Gospel Choir. Rosa sang. She played piano. Cynthia, another sister, she sang. She played piano.
Wow. Okay.
Tom played guitar, because he tried to hook up with
Really?
Vic Ruiz.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Tom was, he was
I didn't
trying
know
to
that.
take lessons from Vic, and they had played for quite some time together.
Wow, I didn't
Um,
even know that.
uh, yeah, yeah, man. But Rodney, he didn't. I don't recall him playing an instrument. He
Mm-hmm.
may have, but mommy had us in playing the sax. All of us took sax lessons and so forth. But that day that I saw Richard Currents, and then after I saw you, I said, "Nah, I wouldn't play drum." That was it, man. I wanted to be a drummer, and
Man,
that was it, man. That was it.
that living in between the two Richards on the block,
Oh yeah, yeah, man.
it was
Oh
I
man.
went from one window to the next.
We both did, bro. Yeah, because when I saw Richard Ruiz, I the only thing I could think of was, wow, you can do that on the drums,
Yeah, man.
and I was just amazed.
Yeah, he changed my whole like
Oh,
I was used to the R&B records, you know,
right,
drum, which was also a great lesson though, because it was all about that pocket and playing
right,
musically.
right.
But when Rich gave me my first Billy Cobham album,
Oh man,
it changed my entire life outlook. Because that's what I said. You can play drums like this?
yeah,
Unbelievable. And then my Vishnu Orchestra with Nara, it just got like you start to hear what drums really could do. And being that Billy was
absolutely.
off the drum line, he always sounded like a whole line by itself. That was like his
Yeah,
style. He sounded like the line.
absolutely, man. I
So,
mean,
and so would you hip to any of the other drummers in the area, in the neighborhood? Um, do you remember Wayne Hardy? He lived on 155th Street.
Wayne Hardy, I remember.
Remember Wayne, right? I used
I
to go
remember
by there
Wayne Hardy.
sometime.
Right.
Because there was like bands on every block. That was the thing I loved
Absolutely.
about the neighborhood.
Yep.
Ronald
That's
Spivey.
right. Spivey, sure.
He probably don't even know that I learned something from him. Cause all them guys would be in Rich's basement. And when
Yep.
Rich would go to eat upstairs for dinner, other cats would get on the set. And I'd just be soaking it in.
Right.
I'd be soaking it in.
Yeah,
So that was
man.
Chris Van Putten, rest in peace. He died earlier this year.
Yeah.
I would always check him out. Then there was
Polite.
Kevin, right? And
Tony Polite.
Tony. And Tony played quite a few instruments that I know of. Because I saw him play sax. I know he played guitar. And I think early back then drums.
Right.
Roland Judge, I think, on 159th Street. Left-handed. He was the first left-handed drummer I ever seen.
Right. I remember Roland.
Yeah, he was the first left-handed drummer. That freaked me out.
Right.
and then Kevin Pettiford, who played with Marcus and them, with Marcus Miller and them. Unique Creation, I think was the name of that band. And him.
Yeah.
So there was
Harper
more than
played a little bit.
Yeah, Harp played because I played in the band with Harp. So I know Harp started on guitar. Well, I can't even say that. He played guitar and then he moved to sax.
Okay, right.
He was very good on sax. He was really good on sax.
Yeah.
We played for a little while. So I mean, okay, so we move in from church, and I remember that's when I started coming out to your house a lot. Is the one time I went to church with your family, and
right.
It just made me feel like part of the family, and so then it was like I was down there like weekly now.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah, but do you remember that day, bro? I remember it like it was yesterday, man. I took your Pearl White Rogers drum set to church. Remember that?
I sure don't remember that. Really?
Yeah, I took your Pearl White Rogers brand new drum set to church. I don't
remember that.
You said, "Come on, bro, man, you can take it." I said, "All right," I took it, and man, the church flipped out. Reverend Norman he stood from the pulpit and said, "The church got a brand new drum set."
Yo, now I do. Now I remember. Now I remember because I remember you telling me that. It was like, what?
Right. That's right. Yeah, man. And Kev, man, listen, that's how we became so tight.
Oh
because
man.
we do anything for each other.
I forgot all about that
Remember
till
what?
you said that. He said, "Oh, we gotta do
Yeah.
this."
Yep. If you recall, you remember when you needed a drum set, and I had just gotten that Ludwig Chrome, and you
Yeah.
took it to Columbia. Yeah. And it was like, because you asked, you say, hey, Carl, man, I need a drum set, could you? And I said, yeah, man, come on down and get it.
Oh
And as a
man.
matter of fact, I said, well, can I come, to watch you guys play? And yeah, man, that's the kind of
Wow.
camaraderie we had as children.
Wow. And I,
Our history goes back so far,
yeah,
man.
man. I remember when you got that set, and
Yeah,
I always said, I was like, yo, this set gonna look the same in 30 years because of
man.
the way it was made. If you take care of it, like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, because that covering, I was like,
Yep.
yeah, this set gonna still. And so when what's your man was at your house and y'all was when you videoed it, I said, see, that it looked just like he just brought it
Yeah.
out of his basement in Queens.
Yep.
And I told
That's
people, I
right,
said,
man.
I was telling
Yeah.
my brother, I said, yo, when I see that set, it's much more than the drum set. It's what people don't understand. There's so many memories
Right.
connected to that,
That's right.
because
That's right.
me, you, James, and T in your
Right.
basement,
And T, right.
you
That's
know,
right.
that
That's right,
symbolizes that. I was
man.
like, wow, there's a lot of history with that drum
Yeah.
set. I'll never forget when,
Yeah.
when we was going in down there, and I remember your mother, she was just like always so professional. She said, Carl, Carl, I think that's enough.
Yeah, man.
I said, see, she got
And
so
and
much
that was after
class.
4 hours.
I said, she got so much
Yeah.
class because other people moms go, all right, I'm tired of that. All y'all get out.
Oh God.
Oh, I was
Yeah,
like,
man. Oh my
and
God.
again, thank God for parents back then too, man, because
Yes,
we
sir.
would have, most of us would
Yes,
have never
sir.
had. I tell people, I said, if it wasn't for the parents putting up with that,
That's right.
I said, because
Absolutely.
even if you didn't have a band rehearsing there, it was that like guys coming over to practice on your set, or you
Right.
shift to somebody else's house.
Right.
And I was like, all doing,
Right.
and I said, and parents coming home from work and hearing this, like, I said,
Yeah.
so the support
That's right.
was ridiculous back
Yeah.
then. So,
Yeah, man.
thank God for him, man,
That's
because
right.
especially when you were a
Yeah,
drummer,
man.
we
Absolutely.
way before electronic drums. I'm sure they would have appreciated
Oh
that.
yeah.
Ooh, in a set where I don't
When
have to
it
hear
had
them.
a volume. Yeah, man.
A set where I don't have to
You
hear
know.
them. I'm buying that.
Yeah.
But
Yes, sir.
good God. So tell me about your whole so you progressed from that to Martin jazz band, and the whole learning to read process, because that's something I
Hmm.
never grabbed.
Yeah, well, I tell you, man, Philip White was in our neighborhood, but he lived much closer to Guy Brewer.
Okay.
It was Philip that kind of, I was taking drum lessons. Mommy and daddy had us all in lessons, but Philip was somebody who literally could sight read drum music.
Right.
Um, and when I got to Martin, man, I started playing in the stage band, jazz band, and really under Philip.
Right.
My improv came from you and Richard Ruiz. So
Right.
my improv and fusion came from that
Right.
perspective. But jazz, man, and who else? Uh, Kim Davis. He
Hmm.
was playing in the band at that time.
Right.
He was playing bass guitar in the band. Because if you recall, man, you came to a couple of things that we did during the summer at Rochdale.
Right.
We did a couple of performances. You
Right.
came to those performances.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
man,
know
we had a
I
good
came
time.
to I came to a couple of stage band rehearsals with you, jazz band maybe.
Right,
Which is
right.
where I first saw Randy was still there, the guitar player,
Mm-hmm.
Baptista or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
He was there. That's when I first saw Kim
Right,
and
right.
all them horn players. Cause even Vince Shepard
Oh man,
started playing sax by that time. Vince played
right.
in the band, and I don't remember Vince playing at all in junior high school. I don't remember him being in the band with me. So that means he picked that up because his brother now, Al, played. And I think that's where Vince picked it up from. Al played in junior high. Actually, Al was in band with Marcus Miller because at that time Marcus was playing sax. And
right.
So there was a whole lot of cats
and
out
all
of
those
Martin.
guys.
He was there, Najee went to Martin.
Right.
He told, if you check out his story, he'll tell you that when he met them in Martin and stuff like that. So it was cats that came out of Martin, man.
Man, let me tell you, there was so many talented cats that came out of August Martin until like guys like me. I just sat and I was a sponge, man. I soaked that stuff up. These guys and Philip, in our little discussion that we had, he could tell you he played with a lot of those guys.
Right.
I mean, and then when I had the opportunity to play with them, man, that was the world to me.
Wow.
But watching Marcus, Najee, cats like that, man, I was just, an up and coming drummer.
Yeah.
To them, man, it was like, yeah, he's all right. We could work with him. One of those type things. But these guys were phenomenal, man.
But my thing is Kevin Pettiford, one day coming home from school, because he went to Lewis too. And I think his senior year, I was on the bus with him. He showed me, that was the first time I seen charts for a set. And it scared me. And he was talking about, like, oh, no, it's no big deal. I said, wait a minute, you reading all these lines at one time? He said, yeah, but it's not that hard. Carl, when I saw them charts, I was like, what?
Yeah.
So when I went with you, man, and to see you, playing and looking at the chart and reading the chart, I'm like, when did you learn all that?
Yeah, but it was interesting, restrictive, and I enjoyed the freelance, like the improv.
Right.
But you could fill all of that in to the charts. And again, Mr. Vedder from August Martin, he was a stickler. You had to be able to learn how to read the music, the charts. And then I learned it, quite a bit outside of school.
Right.
But, in all honesty, man, freelancing, the improv, the feel for music, I mean, you could get all of that too. Because you check, you know who I'm listening to more now than before is Simon Phillips.
Oh, really?
This guy's incredible, man.
Yeah, man.
That brother is
Simon
so unassuming.
Playing with Stanley at 17. I'll never forget when he came out. You could tell he was a Cobham fan. He even said his setup like him.
Right.
Because Cobham, I tell people, I said Cobham was the only cat putting a kick drum on a stand and playing it too. And then you saw Simon doing it. He's like the only one really, other than some of those rock cats that I, see do that. But yeah, man, that was such a great time because there was always somebody that you could go check out, and you did it to me. You did it the right way because the one thing I didn't get is in junior high school, I wanted to be playing like Rich and them so bad and be in a band, and I was like, this left, right, da ain't getting me in no band. So I was like, I really was rejecting it because I was like, yo, this is not gonna do it for me. I'm on a snare drum and I'm looking, I'm like, I can't get in the band like this. But I really wish I had stayed with it because again, I started memorizing the chart, not reading. So I think Lemons wasn't playing in the band then. I forgot that other brother's name that was in there. They was in the 8th grade. So
in 72?
72. So Guarino put me and this other friend of mine, Elliot, we were 7th graders. So he put us in the 8th grade band because we would be taking over for them the following year.
Right.
I was memorizing what they played. I was never looking at the chart. So we be sitting there staring, but I be just listening to them. So, and to this day, I knew what I was supposed to be playing by the band. So I always listened to everything overall. So I knew what the horns were supposed to be playing. I knew what I was supposed to be playing. And Guarino didn't never catch me the whole 8th grade except for one time. And I had to laugh because, it was like we should be better trumpet players and clarinet players because he really didn't take a lot of time with the drum section. we sat most of the class watching everybody else get their stuff. So here we go. He counts it off. He's playing. I would get to the point I just started playing what sounded good, Carl. I started playing what sounded good. I'm over there. And then he stopped. He said, wait a minute. He said, what do y'all have there? Right? So obviously there was supposed to be a real particular part I was supposed to play. And when I didn't play it, that's the only thing. Because other than that, I guess he said, yeah, that sounds good. But then he looked, hey, that's not what's on the chart. So then I knew we was like, man. So here we go, right? We looking and we going, what is that? The dotted chord. He came over. He said, it goes like this. And I always knew to do that. Act like I couldn't understand it. He come show it to us. I was like, oh, okay. He said, you don't see that dotted? You don't see that dotted chord?
Yeah. But that's. But you know who else was a gifted drummer who could read music? Remember that cat, Jeff Davis?
I didn't know Jeff
right
that
around
well.
the cathedral.
Right. I knew who he was, but I didn't know him.
Right. Jeff used to play on 42nd Street. He used to play for, like the musicals and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Right. And he used to do a lot of stuff for Hezekiah and John P. Key and all those cats. But he could sight read music too. And that brother, man, he passed away about a year ago.
Yeah, you was telling me. Yeah, I know he was doing a lot of recordings. And I know that must have been a big reason why, other than he could play, getting the calls, because most cats out of church don't read. Because, basically we start off as the kid at the church who just wants to learn, and they let you because they don't got to pay you.
Right. And if they paid you, it wasn't that much.
Right. So, here come that appreciation every 3 months. And so a lot of cats, that's how, they did it. Now, me playing in church, I only played because my aunt was running the choir. I didn't play because I was at church. I was always in church. I'm a PK, so but
I
only played because my aunt had that choir, because I'm trying to get people to play Chick Corea, and I couldn't even find nobody who knew who they were.
Right. What was funny back then, man, it wasn't about the fusion.
Nope.
The church was just 4/4 time.
Yep.
That was it. You can speed it up or slow it down.
Right. You get a shout. You get a shout. You better be able to keep up, though. That's when they find you out.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, man. But there's just so many talented cats out there now.
Yeah. I do. I remember to come see y'all one time at the actual school performance. I don't know if that was a spring concert that I came and saw the jazz band. But the band was good, man. It was really good.
I remember.
I always thought it was cool that I could come and to y'all rehearsals, though. That that teacher was cool like that, and I would just come and meeting new cats and stuff. Like I said, that's when I first saw Kim Davis. He had that black and white Rickenbacker.
Right. That's right.
And
Yep.
Yeah, I miss that kind of stuff, man. But I tell you, man, bro, I was so impressed with you. Because you was playing, and again, because that's another thing, Carl. We was in the fusion, but to see you playing straight ahead, I wasn't playing. I started playing straight ahead later. My thing was, if Cobham, when I started hearing stuff he played in, because I didn't realize that he played on Miles Davis, because I got hip to him when he was doing his own thing. So I went back and go, oh, Billy did play straight ahead. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when I started getting to that. But other than that, I wasn't playing no straight ahead. So when I start seeing you, I'm like, man, he up here swinging and reading it. He's swinging
Yeah,
his
man.
behind off. It's like,
Oh,
I think James was another reader. James was a reader.
mm-hmm.
I don't know if T
Yep.
wrote. I don't know if he did. I don't know if he
But
was a
T
reader
was
now.
he's super talented, but
Yeah.
I don't remember him reading. But
Right, I
James,
don't
well,
remember.
James had that from his cousin,
Right.
who played the Tonight Show.
And he
Yeah.
went, and because they all went to Jackson. So Camille was there. Camille's a
Right.
reader. So
Right.
I realized a
Right.
lot of them that went to Jackson was readers.
Right.
And but my thing is, I'm trying to get in the band, and it's just not doing it for me.
Yeah,
I said,
man.
that's deep, man. But yeah, so like, when did you? Because you never aspired to really be like that. Wasn't gonna be a thing, right? Like, I'm not moving on to play professionally.
Well, in all honesty, I couldn't, because I wasn't as good as you guys. And that's the truth. I just was. To me, I was not as good as the guys that I idolized. And you were one of the guys I idolized, of course, Rich Ruiz. And I used to see guys, I said, man, I wish I could play like that.
Yeah, I appreciate that, but
that's
bro,
why I just never really...
you could read. So of course there was Broadway, there was, you know what I'm saying? There was a lot. There was studio sessions, because most of that stuff was reading.
Mm-hmm.
Most of that stuff was reading. And it depends on who you was working for, but the jingles and all that stuff, all that was reading.
Yeah.
So
but I just never pursued it, and then, went into business school and, started working, in corporate and stuff, man.
Because I had been like once we got out of high school, then I wasn't really seeing you. I ran into your brother one day, and I said, "Hey, how's Carl doing?" I said, "Is he still playing?" He said, "No, my brother's off into his career now." So
yeah,
okay. Cool. I think that might have been Con Edison. You was at then,
right,
when you had started that, and So was that your plan, the business thing, or just something you said?
Back then, I didn't want to go to college. I didn't want to go to school anymore. I didn't want to do anything. All I wanted to do was become a regular person. My parents, man, right after high school, my parents told me, they said, you got one or two choices. You will either go to school or you will die here today. And my mother wasn't playing. She said, you're going to go to college and you're going to do this, and that. And that's what led me into school, man.
Because your mother was the educator, right?
Right. She had a master's in English. Yeah, she was a teacher.
Because your mother's calm demeanor was like, when you would talk to her, like, I respect back then was always that. But when your mother would talk to you, just like something about her would just draw you in, and everything was like, yes, ma'am, because like I never heard her raise a voice.
Yeah,
it was always she would go. Right, yeah. Well, we all know. Right?
Hey, Kev, y'all were gone when she raised her voice.
But the fact that it was like, Carl, Kev's here. Kevin's here. It would always sound. Your mother always sounded so professional to me. It was like, man, anytime I was in the house, it was like when when mom speaks, everybody stops. Everybody listens.
That's right. Yeah.
Your pop was so laid back, man. Your pop was so laid back.
Yeah.
When I went to church with y'all, I so enjoyed it, man.
Yeah, man. It was just, those were great times, man.
Yeah.
But I just love playing drums. And it's funny because I didn't really start picking it back up after, the career and going into business and all of that until I joined, I was doing some stuff at Calvary Baptist Church. I played there for a good little while.
Okay.
But I'd always play free of charge. I never charged anybody.
Right.
And then, when I joined Greater Island Cathedral and I started singing with the men's chorus, I started noticing that Jeff Davis was sometimes coming late. So I said, okay, well, this is my big break. And I started playing, and people were like, they said, man, you are phenomenal. I said, nah, man. I said, I learned from, greats, man. I said, Kevin Harrington and Willard on
Willard
keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
He said, Willard Meeks.
Yep.
He said, Kevin? I said, yeah, man, that was one of the cats that taught me. He said, whoa. He said, yeah, man, we go way back.
Yeah, I played in Bartlett's Contemporary with him. I only did a few shows with him before he left because he was leaving, and his brother filled in his place. Okay. But that's Willard Meeks is no joke, man.
Yeah,
man. And such a nice guy.
Oh yeah, he and his wife, friends with them, from the church, but. When I started, meeting people like that, and just playing around, and then people realized that I had some gift and talent. Right. I would just play when when the opportunity came about. But I never charged or anything like that.
Right.
I was never looking to make money or anything.
Right.
But I just love the craft. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I just love playing.
When you played over at Calvary, who came after you? I know a guy named Lonnie Christian was playing there, right?
Right, Lonnie was playing.
Okay.
He played for good look.
Yeah, I don't really know him that well. We know each other in passing. I know who he is because him and Willie Brown, the guitar player, would play a lot.
Right. And, yeah, Lonnie was a good guy, man.
Yeah. And,
but a lot of guys, man. Nate Townsley.
Oh, Nate, man.
Remember him?
One of my favorites.
Yeah.
Nate one of my favorites, man. I was like, ooh, this dude got some stuff with him.
Yeah, man. Yeah, well, I saw him at a few clinics that Jeff had.
Okay.
And he was, because I told him, I said, man, you play like a guy that I know. He said, yeah, well, who's that? I said, yeah, man, Kevin Harrington. He said, what? He said, you know Kevin? I said, yeah, man. He said, yeah, man, I know Kevin for years.
Yeah, we go back.
And we started, we were shooting the breeze, man, about because he said his parents told him they didn't want to listen to the RVR. Remember RVR?
Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
man.
They told him, they said, nah, we don't want you listening to RVR and no secular music.
A real jazz station.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, man. But
wow.
But yeah, when I hear cats like that, man, I just, I love to see all of you guys, man, because it's something that I wish I had the ability to do.
Man, you had the chops, man. And the thing about it, you was a quick learner.
Uh-huh.
You was a quick learner, and I think the fact that when we started getting together, it helped all of us.
Right.
Because
that's true.
We all had our own style. Like James, for me, always was more of a Steve Gadd cat. Because he said it. Me and you came from the Harvey Mason school.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
And me and James would always get to that conversation. It's like, who was better? It was like, well, I've always been in the Harvey Mason. And you could just tell by certain licks, like, yeah, you listen more to Gadd.
Right.
And that was his thing. But I think once we started getting together, man, like your chops started improving. Because like mine, if it wasn't for Rich, I don't even know if I would have kept playing. Because there was those times that you go, man, I ain't as good as these guys. I ain't going to get as good as these guys.
Yeah.
But, Rich would always go, nah, man, you got to practice because you got to realize. He said, what, you think I just, after a week, I was playing like this?
Right. Yeah, man.
And when I know he started taking lessons from Narda, that's when I realized, I was like, hey, you got to take lessons. You know what I'm saying? Because I thought like, yo, man, you put on a record for Rich and he'll know it in like 10 minutes. But when he was like, yeah, he said, I'm going to Narda. And it's a difference than learning his stuff off the record and actually sitting down with him. Because the one thing I will say, and I know you like this too, because you read, it's probably more so where, like you said, you took lessons. But we also, in which I think for me was better, is that we got the ear training. So we had a feel with our playing.
Right.
Because I don't know if you ever met a cat who started playing this instrument. I don't care what it was. It all was about reading first. And his improv was like, he didn't know what to do. Because he didn't really like venture out. It's like, if the chart ain't in front of him, then I don't play.
Right. Yeah.
And I think drums was the same way. Is that was like, well, yeah, we get down here, we listen to the records, we play along with the records, and that's how you develop a feel over time. When I used to be in Japan, I used to have drummers, we would play at a spot and drummers start coming in the daytime to get with me. And he asked me, he says, how do you practice your feel? I said, I don't have an answer for that. I said, because I said, your feel is actually who you are. You really can't practice that. I said, what you can do is practice a feel in a genre. I said, so if you play Latin music, there's a feel to that. Yeah. So you need to understand how to play that feel. Or when you're playing like a blues shuffle, there's a feel there, but then it has to be your personal identity. How does Carl play a shuffle? You know what I'm saying? That's what, and I tell him, I said, this is how I'll know you're playing drums. That's your feel. So when Carl's playing, you go, oh, that's Carl. How you know that's Carl? Yep. I recognize his groove. I said, that's his identity.
That's right.
Me and Carl ain't gonna sound the same. I said, that's the difference. And we both can play a 2/4 beat. And our identity should show. Like, that's Carl playing for whatever reason. Maybe, it's just different opposed to my 2/4. It's different. I said, that's because that's our feels. And he was like, oh, I don't know if he quite understood it, but I said, I said, you gotta be who you are when you're playing, That's right. That's how we can listen to records and somebody don't have to tell us who's playing drums. Oh, that's what's his name. I know who that is.
You know what? It's funny that you mentioned that because my mother used to tell me, she says, oh my goodness, you've improved so much since Kevin has been coming down. She said, you sound just like him. I said, no, Mom. I said, thanks for the compliment, Mom, but there's a big difference.
But even if the fact that she heard, but you know what it is? She heard you playing something different. That and since she would always hear you, she really honestly can say that. I hear you all the time, and now I can hear you playing something different. And I always felt that's what worked for us when we got together. Like I would tell cats, I said, you can learn from anybody. I don't care how bad a cat is. I can hear a dude play something. I go, oh man, I like the way he played that. We can all learn from something. It's like, I would listen to you swing, and I was like, dang, I like the way Carl, he's smooth. And I would work on that. I want to be smooth. And so, because there's a lot of bad cats, man. It's like, if they straight ahead cats, I can't stand to hear them play a funk groove. I always like, what happened? I was like, where's the disconnect? But see, me and you and cats that came up with that, we don't have that disconnect. We can play a swing beat and then turn around and play a funk record and sound like that's all we play.
There you go.
I'm saying that's the difference, because I hear some straight ahead cats, they terrible when it comes to playing some funk grooves. Like, yikes.
Yeah. That's right.
So it definitely made a difference that we came up when we did to get that. Was like, yo, he sound like he plays funk, and then you go, wait a minute, that's the same cat in there swinging like that?
Yeah.
That's always my thing. I was like, yep.
Yeah, man.
I'm gonna be able to play each genre like that's all I knew.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro.
Man. And you definitely mastered that, bro. But I remember the times, man, we play like 8 hours just practicing. Remember that?
Dude, like we had
8 hours, man.
Like somebody had to chase us out. Exactly. That's from that term, like, y'all need to get outside, get fresh air. In other words, I need y'all to stop playing.
Yeah, sure.
But Yeah,
You know,
man.
because what used to trip me out more than anything else, man, was when I would play in different venues.
Mhm.
People would tell me, they said, man, you are phenomenal. I said, okay, thanks. You know, I said, well, I know a lot of, guys that are just so much better, and they said, man, you need to be playing
Right.
for real.
See,
Because I remember I used to sit into places for you.
right.
And oh man, I used to enjoy it so much.
So
You know.
what I learned is once I got out of the neighborhood bands and I started playing
Mm-hmm.
behind singers and stuff, like I played behind Gwen McCrae, Funky Sensation,
Mm-hmm.
is when I really got a
Mm-hmm.
lesson
I
in.
remember.
I really got a lesson in all that stuff we was learning, all that improv.
Right.
You fired if I hear that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You fired.
Yeah.
So that's what I was saying. Like
Yeah.
your style of way you was playing, that's when you get all the work.
Mm-hmm.
Because we was playing all that fusion
Mm-hmm.
stuff, it was great to learn and get our chops. But you getting
Right.
fired, you get on you playing that. Because singing will turn around and look at you like,
Yep.
hey, what are you doing?
It's funny because one day I went over to Allen, Greater Allen Cathedral, right? So I just went in there and I heard David Bratton. You know David Bratton?
I don't know him.
Bratton, he plays keyboard and he's a
Uh-huh.
singer. He writes and so forth, but phenomenal on keyboard. He
Right.
played with Hezekiah and all those other cats. But his sons are extremely gifted.
Right.
So David Bratton Jr. was one of my little, soldiers, man. This guy was cool. And I would talk to him about going to school, making sure you got your college degree,
Right.
da 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 da. So he said, yeah, man. He said, you got a PhD? I said, yeah, man, I got a PhD in business. He said, oh, okay. He said, well, I could play drums, right? This little cat got on the drums, Kev. The stuff he was doing at our ages, we couldn't come anywhere near this kid,
man. I see him all the
right?
time.
I mean, he was like,
right.
Yeah, oh man. So he said, can you top that? So I was like, I had to dig deep, man. And we were battling. Let me tell you something. I was battling a kid. and I was just kind of edging this kid out. And I was saying to myself, I said, this guy's gonna be a monster. He's gonna be phenomenal when he gets older. And but now his mama and his daddy got him in school, and he's doing phenomenally well.
Right.
But the kid, as far as drums are concerned, I mean, this kid is just gifted. Let me tell you, I snuck jazz fusion. After you taught me how to do the carved ham roll, right? And we would try to sneak it and listen to Rich all the time. I was sneaking jazz fusion into church music.
There you go.
And people went crazy.
Yo, I used to be trying to do
crazy. Yeah, they were like, whoa, what's that? Yeah, man. I mean, it's like, because it was a novelty.
Right.
Nobody was doing it.
And that's why I laugh now. I was like, well, they finally got there, because that's just what it sounds like to me now when I listen.
Exactly.
I said, but brothers, we was trying to do that back in the 70s and they wasn't having it.
No, man.
They wasn't having it. Like you said, hey, don't be playing that in here.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I first tried to bring Warren in, a bass player. Oh my gosh. It was like, it's just a bass. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but Kev, even when they started trying to bring drums in,
right,
a lot of people they didn't want it.
Right. Yeah.
First Baptist was the first church that I knew of that wanted drums. And the only reason I got in there because Uncle Clarence thought I had a nice smile. Reverend always said, oh, he smiles a lot. He smiles. He got a pretty smile. Oh. So he would let me put drums in, man. And that's how I was able to get the drums in.
Wow.
Because he was a visionary.
Do you remember when Richard and them played in Rob's backyard?
Yeah.
Yep. I remember that.
Because, man, Robbie Robinson was the guy who told me, he said, man, you want to get real good? He said, go down to the scene, 42nd Street. He said, and just fill in.
Mm.
Remember that place?
I don't remember. On 42nd Street?
42nd Street. Robbie Robinson, he told me, he says, yeah, man, he says, go down there. He said, any musician can play anytime they want. He said, if a cat gets up, you sit down.
So they was having, right.
They would just have jam sessions all day. So I went down there. I started observing, and these guys were killing it down there. And I started observing. Then I actually set in. So even when I did something that wasn't that great, they said, all right, man, keep playing. Right. They were encouraging me. They said, keep playing until I got better.
Right.
That's, that along with all of the stuff that I picked up over the years. That's what, kind of, changed the tide.
And that's the only way to really get better is playing with cats that's better than you. And you learn. Oh, yeah. And at that time, willing to teach you. So I see that you said you semi-retired now, huh?
Yeah, man, basically semi-retired. I mean, if I had to or wanted to go out and, do some work, I would do it. But now, man, I'm just enjoying myself. And I have a slight disability. So, that kind of hinders me. Like we talked before about carrying around drum sets, I'm not in no way going to be doing any of that.
Yeah, them days is over.
Yes,
but I saw you, man, when you video, you sound great, man. Cause I said, oh, Carl been back on them drums.
Yeah, man.
You sound great.
I try to work it out. Thanks, bro. I keep the set up. Thank goodness I had the basement down there. So I just, keep it down there. But I guess they're gonna bury me in that set, man. Because I told
great,
that was the set Daddy and Mommy got me.
Yeah,
thanks, man.
That's great, man.
Yeah, thanks, bro.
That's great. I knew that, and they paid a nice price for it back then too.
Yes, sir. Yeah, man. They got that high school graduation, man.
Oh, that's when you got that? Wow.
High school 1979.
Woo.
I got that set.
I got my Rogers in 78. I think, 78. Yeah. Tony Curry had Tama. He had a Tama.
Oh man.
And I'll never forget looking at his cymbal stands. I was like, they were all doubled. I was like,
right.
This is
did I ever tell you how I met Tony Curry, man?
Let
me tell you what happened real quick. My oldest sister worked with his sister.
Mm-hmm. And
she told me, she said, I want to take a ride over to a friend's house. So you remember Tony lived from us. He lived across the conduit.
Right. Yep. Right off Farmers. Yep.
So, right.
Guy Brewers. I'm sorry. Off Guy Brewer. In between that little square.
Right.
Yep.
Right. So, I took a ride with her. I went over to visit her friend. So I got in the house and I said, I was kind of, they were talking their shop talk and this, that, and the other. So I said, I got to go use the bathroom. So she said, well, you can go to the bathroom downstairs. This was her friend. She said, you can go to the bathroom downstairs. So I said, okay, well, let me go to the bathroom. So then all of a sudden, I passed by a room. I see a drum set. I was like, holy smokes, right? So I went to the men's bathroom, came back out. So I started playing his set. His sister and Rosa came down. She said, I didn't know you could play the drums. I said, yeah. I said, yeah, all the guys are in our neighborhood, drummers, guitar players, and bands and all that. So she says, well, I'd love for you to meet my brother. I said, well, why don't you bring him by, right? So now, I didn't know, obviously, this was Tony.
Wow.
And and what happened was, Tony and I met somewhere along the line before he came to the house. She comes by, says, oh, I got somebody I want you to meet. He came over, he played your drums. He sounds really good. So when I came home, he was downstairs playing my set. I come downstairs. I said, well, who's next thing I know, I said, yo, man, what's going on? And we embraced it, and it was just so funny. Yeah. But it's so
cool,
good
man.
to see you, bro.
So, thank you for coming on, man. It was a pleasure to talk to you. And we're gonna wrap up this episode of Musician Rewind. Hope everybody enjoys it, and we're gonna see y'all in the next one. All right, bro.
All right, bro.
Take care.
All right, man. Love you, bro.
Love you too, man. Later.